Hello, everyone. I'm Yang. I'm a software engineer manager in Chrome operations team. Chrome ops team is helped Chrome easy to change, hard to break, and release efficient. And today I'm here to talking about testing 101. Basically, it's check the Chrome automation test, make Chrome quality and stable, secure, performant. And the majority thing is generic testing and also the some of the Chrome specific automation testing. Let's start. So overview today is look at the several parts. First is what is a test? When do we need test? How do we run tests? And what makes a good test? Why should we test? And the last session is I just build several dimensions together, look at a test context map. Hopefully you're understanding the whole test relationship. What's a test? May I have a question? You think, ask yourself, will you be confident you take an airplane, you build it yourself? Many people probably scared. So the reason is that you need a lot of testing to make sure this product is secure and safe. So here is a test is something we run to ensure Chrome is behaving as we intend. So mostly it's to make sure Chrome behavior is a Chrome. I'm using car as a sample. If you build a car, you make sure this is a car, it's running like a car. It's not like a bicycle. It's not like a boat. The second is a test is something we run ensure Chrome is correct. So this basically is like a functionality of the Chrome and make sure Chrome, for example, UI, menu, browser, search. I'm using car as another sample. Is if it's a car and it is a car, but is this a correct one? Is drive correctly and open the door and back up forward. This is more like a feature functionality. So next one is a test is something we run to ensure Chrome is performant. Make sure Chrome is loading the page fast and using less memory and using less battery. So this using car as a sample is the car, how much gas you use. The car is what's the speed limit, right? So this kind of performance we're looking at is make sure Chrome is the good for the users to use. It's not just the function well, it's performing well. Next one is a test is something we run to ensure Chrome is secure and stable. So lots of people using Chrome as a browser. So we want to make sure user is secure to using Chrome. And also Chrome is stable enough, not crash. And when you're using autofill and the password manager, you make sure users is safely to using Chrome. Next is a test is something we run to ensure Chrome updatability, accessibility, compatibility, localization. So all these features is correct. Chrome can be updated automatically and it can be used accessible. And also compatibility is there are lots of OS platform, like mobile, desktop, all different versions. You make sure the Chrome is function well in the different version and even the older version. Localization is international things. So jump to the this diagram. People are familiar with that. So this is a triangle diagram. We look at this 70, 20, 10. 70% we suppose the test is a unit test. 20% is integration test, and the top is 10% end-to-end scenario. So you can see from the bottom top is more realistic, and from the top to bottom is more fast, reliable, and debuggable. If you want to see more, you can look at the link Google Testing blog. So on Chrome, What's the unit test? So just list some of the sample here. JUnit, that's using for Android. Gtest is using for Windows or iOS. The integration test is something like a browser test. Auto test, the task is for Chrome OS. Ergory is on iOS. Telemetry is the performance things. Instrumentation test is Android, and some of layout tests. So on top 10% is things like live page test, manual test. Even though we cannot make sure everything be automated, we still need some of the manual, but be sure not rely on manual. Manual is the last one we do, right? So in this session, we focus on all the automation tests. We want to develop thinking about this all test is the tooling you are using is to make sure all Chrome is better and a better automation. When do we test? Before start here, I want to developer thinking about the test is not the different to development. This is a part of the product. So every developer be responsible for this, your feature or your code be testable and be well tested. Usually when we do test, look at the flow, Chrome, pre-submit, commit queue, workflow, branch. So first part, when you test is when you build a code, you're supposed to have a local unit test to be ready. So in Chrome is what we call pre-submit. Hold a second, let's come back. So the pre-submit test is you make sure your test before you submit this test, the code is safe and the quality. You don't want your co-workers break. You don't want your code break other people's code. So when you need to run in a test before you check in. And the next is commit queue. Give me a second. I think I need. So the second phase commit queue is change have to pass all of the tests in the commit queue prior to landing. So you can see this UI. This UI is in the Gary. You can see the test is running all the green. This is a pre-submit test running all the different build. You can see the binary size check and all your CL running on the different version of the build. So all this green that makes sure your code can be checked in. So on workflow, everything we run on the CQ also run one of our many continuous integration builder. So the CQ though is most limited to correctness tests that are reasonable, quick, and stable. So next is a branch. So after we finish all the CQ and running a workflow, so the build is ready. So let's not finish. When the build is ready, we're still doing the last step, the sanity check. So that included some of the performance, that's included some of the manual tests, and to make sure the Chrome build is safe and the quality enough, and before we give it to the users. Next session is how do we run automated tests? In Chromium, you can see build.chromium.org. This is a UI. This is the like daily running, and you can check that each build. So the green is a pass, and the orange, red is a fail, orange is like a failed again, and yellow is running, and purple is an exception. So we usually look at if something wrong, we can jump in quickly to look at what's going on. So then you will ask what we can do to, as a developer, to kick off the automation test. So you build the code and you have the testing to onboarding this in the workflow, and you need to set up several configurations. So first one is the build configuration. That one include like debug or release, and the OS version or architecture. Library linking is a dynamic or static. Next is test configuration. So in this configuration, you check the test types. This could be performance or functional test, and test suites. And also the runtime flag is ensure some of the thing in the experimental. you set up the flag, make sure the flag is functional there. Next one is the execution environment. It's a OS version. It could be a different OS version like Android L, M, Q, or P, something like that. And the hardware. Hardware is specific for GPU, or if you have some specific hardware needed, you put the configuration here. So this is a workflow. Sorry, it's very small. Basically, I could quickly check is, for example, this is a whole structure, swarming server, swarming worker. So usually the server is asleep, and make sure when the test request comes, and this will be wake that. So first is in the bot compiler, compilation task given to Goma. So Goma is a system then give the compiler outputs back to bot. So then bots give to the isolate the test data, then is hash that back to the bot, and the bug trigger test give the hashed test ID give to the swarming server, then running the test. So after running the test, all the things is hashed and can get back the results. So in the bot collect these results and send task ID to swarming server, and then we get the full results. So this is like a workflow how it works. So you don't need to worry about the detail. You just make sure the configuration is fine and send it to the workflow. So one day of the testing, this is 1 day of the summer. I believe this number is significantly increased these days. You can see even that it's 250K plus unique tests running per day and a 650 million plus test execution. This interpreted to greater than 3 years of swimming tasks. So why do we run so many tests there? So the reason is Chromium, we make sure there are 7+ operating systems. So Chrome on that is a success. This is Android, Windows, iOS, Mac, Linux, Chrome OS, Fuchsia, and also 4+ architectures, 32-bit, 64-bit, ARM, Intel, and 2+ models debug and release. And in each OS version, there are around 3+ operating system version. For example, Android, we covered Android L, M, P, and we keep refresh that to Q and the new versions. And also Windows like Windows 7, Windows 10, and all this. So you can see the combination of this is extremely high. It's 100+ configurations here. So that's the reason why we're running this so many tests. And in the meantime, you can feel the test is so cost expensive. The other reason I would encourage a developer writing a good test, don't make tests poor and flaky. We will talk more later. So thinking about what make a good test. Now, everybody knows a test is important. So we can write tests, but write a test is not easy. So a good test is consistent. Let me put here. So what that means is you need to make sure the test is passed when it's good, and the test is a fail when it's bad. So if sometimes pass, sometimes fail, we call this as flaky. So flaky test, for some reason, one reason is dependencies. You have some hardware dependencies or like network dependency or file in the drive. So your test, if you're using this, it's obviously make your test more like a flaky. And the second is that you have other dependencies with other code. So you need to make sure the test is smaller and try to more unit. So this will be less flaky. And a flaky test isn't always a test bug. So it could be infrastructure flaky. It could be test code flaky. It's also it could be the real product bug. So to investigate the flaky is important and difficult. So we needed to distinguish which root cause it is to make sure test is unflaky. So in Chromium, there are flakiness dashboard. So the left side is all the build, and the right side you can see the color. So you can see how flaky it is. For this is green is always pass, and the gray is fail once, pass second times, and the black one is pass multiple times. So as a developer, we may need to look at all this like a pass fail once and all the flaky test results. And the team is building more tools to help develop to finding flaky. So for example, analysis chromium.org, the find it is have an algorithm and to find the flaky test based on some threshold, make the scorecard is higher. You can see that's the flaky test, the more score is probably more flaky, or you can see the time and so the next one is a flaky test. You can see what this look like. This is a per CL, for example, the per every column. You can see 100% of one test is dropped to 67% pass rate. So immediately the tooling can find out something wrong. So with this, and the tooling will automatically find a bug, and this is the sample of a find it. Let's find the flaky bugs. This is another view. You will get the alert when you do the Garrett code review. If this test flaky, you will get the remind. The sample you can see, the sample flaky test is render frame audio input stream factory test. And don't be surprised if your CL got some bug, automatic bug about this. Next, shouldn't test just not be flaky. Oh, sorry. So we try to make sure the test is not flaky. One thing is a good test is fast. A good test have high coverage. We can talk more on the coverage part. It's coverage is dependent like a unit test coverage and overall coverage. We look at more unit test coverage. The reason is you can write one single test. You can cover almost everything, but doesn't mean your test is good because there are lots of boundary case, negative cases not covered. We ask for more unit test, more fast, and a small test. This is less flaky. On the coverage part is you can look at the code coverage dashboard. So the green is, we look at 90% is green, yellow is 75% to 90%, less than 75% that we call the red. So you can look at, this is a public link. Test must be small. So we suggest that developer thinking about your code, make sure your test is more units, less dependency, and small, running fast. This is less flaky. Another thing is a test must be like a hermetic. So the reason is if your test is dependent on the network, like external things, this will make your test is unhermetic, is more flaky will happens. Also write the testable code. Even your test is very good, functional good, everything good. I'll give you a sample. What's the testable code here? So look at this, right? This code is totally correct. It's just looking at even or odd. And you put the random number there and give the result is even or odd. But this is non-deterministic sample. If you run a test, it's very hard. You don't have much argument to pass in. It's just run even or odd. So the best one is to fix this is you're using this side, using number as an argument to put in, then you can using different number. For example, this number could be 0, negative, even huge, max probably overload, right? So this is a better code. It's a testable code. Why should we test? So a test is an investment. So you can see previous session, even the test, if one test fail, if a flaky developer need take time to figure out which CL causing the problem, and if you build a good test, make flaky test, will help others, your peers and other developers, and also it's good for the product as well. A test is part of feature. I emphasize again, it's not a separate things. It's a part of the development cycle. What if I don't know how to write a test? First, check this. We put lots of good document. This could be, this will be updated as well. Put different platform, how we run the test on these platforms. And look around the code base. I think this is open source. You can take a look at other people, how they write the test, and ask someone who had experience. The last session is I put the test concept map quickly. So we look at test for different dimensions. One is talking to yourself is what about the test? What test is? So it could be function or non-functional. So functional like a unit test, the boundary, ad hoc. Non-functional could be performance test, security test, compatibility, health, localization, usability, all these tests. So make sure what test you're doing. Next is where you're running tests. It could be running a virtual machine. It could run on mobile or desktop. Next will be when you're running tests. It could be running a pre-submit and the post-submit and the integration test. So the fourth dimension is how. Is it automation test or semi-automation test or manual test? What I look at this is any single certain point. Let's say I give a point. So this point is automated security test run on mobile for post-submit. So as a developer thinking about your test, not just, oh, I'm running a test, finished. You need to think about, is this a test good enough? Is this a test that cover everything? When I'm running the test, where I running test, how this is good for the product. We know test is, I would say test never done, test never perfect, but we can do our best to make products more quality, more performant, and more secure. I think this is my last. Any question? When will a CL be moved to CQ or workflow branch based on what criteria? What if a test failed because of a non-related issue to the test itself that make it flaky? So first one, we try to build the criteria. The rule is make sure the test is in tribots running past for several sessions. So everybody responsibility to make sure your test is passed. And second is what if a test failed because of a non-risk? Okay, so if the flaky happens, it will find automated find the bug, and we will triage this and make sure this is the bug is not the flaky bug is not because of the infra to isolate that, and then move to the developer to look at non-infra related test bug. So the process is still there, and we try to keep improving this process and going forward. What is swarming server and Goma? Goma is a compiler system. Swarming is our system trying to distribute the sharding of the test running. This is a major Chromium system. I don't think, I think my time probably over. I will drop in the hallway to answer questions. Yeah. I will stay away a few minutes. Thank you.